Hi everybody, this is Toffee bringing you Chapter 5, Part 2 of my Fire Emblem 4 LTC. Chapter 5 is the final chapter of Generation 1, and as such, when we clear this map, we have to also ensure that the inventories of parents are set up for inheritance. Sylvia buys the return ring and hands in her leg ring. In order to get our pairings done in time, Sigurd will mostly solo the map, with just a select few assistants helping to expedite each leg of his journey. Sigurd eventually wants to pass down the Paragon band, leg ring, night ring, power ring, magic ring, brave sword, and light brand to his son, which is a rather expensive inventory and is why he bought the bargain band earlier. The first couple who will get together on this map are Lex and Ira. Neither of them will pass anything down to their children, though they will fill out their wallets to maximize gold inheritance just because they can. Their kids innately come with Paragon, and that means the arena is giving them 17,500 gold each map to spend as they please. The next couple who will marry are Claude and Edain. Claude doesn't need to pass down anything to Lester, and instead will focus on getting gold to Edain, who will end up passing down every single staff we have access to, minus one heal staff. I mentioned in a previous video that maybe Edain could get some time with the bargain ring for inheritance purposes, and the primary problem you would run into is when exactly she will buy it. Sigurd passes it to Midir partway through this map, but that moment is not a great time for Edain to complete all her shopping, especially given she won't have Claude's money at that point. Next we come to Midir and Bridget. Midir will, as previously discussed, want to pass down the bargain ring, shield ring, and speed ring, along with a return ring to Patty, while Bridget will pass down every single bow in Generation 1, except, funnily enough, her starting steel bow. This is because that particular steel bow would appear in the Generation 2 armory in Chapter 7, which would boost Lester's damage output. Beyond this, Midir and Bridget would like to fill their wallets in order to maximize the starting gold of Patty. Dew and Lachesis will be the last couple to actually marry on this map. Lachesis will want to send her daughter the other return ring along with the return staff. We also pass her a heal and a single slim sword to ensure she has enough money for her giant map. Dew on the other hand will pass on basically every single sword that isn't spoken for to his son. The crucial benchmark for both of Lachesis' kids is to be able to raise 20,000 gold by Chapter 7 to ensure they can use the Paragon ring for every arena with some leeway for incidental expenses. As for the actual chapter, for the first castle we want to have Legring Sigurd solo it, with Azel and Nisha tagging along to help out. We also had Sylvia buy the return ring, and have Ernest buy the return staff for later in the chapter. Note that Jamke does not face 100 hit from the rogue, and as such is not a 100% reliable iron burner this time around. Azel has level cap, but Nisha needs a little more EXP to get there. During the initial turn, Sylvia is free to team up with Telta to act as jealousy bots. We have them help Midir and Bridget because getting those two paired faster will allow Midir to go off and grab a village later. The Green Master Knight being chased is Sigurd's father, Byron, and he wants to talk to his son before shedding his mortal coil. With this enemy face, Nisha caps his level. Sigurd is kitted out to build kills on the light brand, which is going to become a much more important weapon in Generation 2. Ernest had a spare turn to help Claude and Edain before she starts flying off to the right to help out around the second castle. Circling back to last chapter's newlyweds, Ernest will pass down every single lance that we have except the silver lance, since her daughter only joins with B lances. I could have had Lewin pass down every tome except the thunder we bought in the Chapter 2 armory, but I was worried about mixing it up with Telta's thunder and ended up not doing that. Note that Thoron and Lex's axes are impossible to pass down through inheritance because no child starts with the requisite weapon ranks for any of them. The reason we want to avoid passing down that specific thunder is similar to the case with the steel bow. We want that thunder tome to be available in the Chapter 7 armory for Edain's daughter Lana to use after promotion. Jamke wouldn't quite level up off of the final fight without the Paragon ring, and so we sent him out to get some chip EXP against this brigand. Lex peels off to fight the Narth brigand. With a chip and a kill, he will exactly hit his level 30 benchmark from the arena. If you plan better, perhaps by having Lex beat the Chapter 1 arena's final four, you could maybe end up diverting this kill to Paragon band Holland, and possibly earn an extra level over Myron. Beowulf rides out to put more kills on the steel sword while fighting that squad. He does need to dodge across this turn and the next to survive, and needs procs to actually kill the armors. Sigurd's father Byron talks to him to give him his holy weapon Tirfing, albeit as a broken sword. If Sigurd took it into his inventory, he would be forced to equip it for enemy phase, which is why we filled up his inventory so he could convoy warp it away. Ernest has the crit javelin and gets it to 100 kills here. We feed Ira the kill on this brigand because it will get her another level up. Elaine visits the 2 nearest villages to the home castle. Beowulf is down to critical HP, which will make the enemy face harder to rig. Maybe I should have tried to find a way to heal him. Sigurd gets right up in the face of the Lubeck castle guard. With his Lightbrand, Magic Ring, and Rigged Magic, he has enough magical attack to one-round the unpromoted Bow Knights, letting them stack kills on the Lightbrand and get it to crit. With 1 crit in 2 hits, Sigurd can even kill the boss of that squad, Andre, to finish routing them. The Beast of Lubeck wields the Holy Weapon Hellswat, an axe that grants a massive bulk boost. Crits are the best way to rip him apart, and Sigurd can actually one-round him with the Lightbrand or the Steel Sword with a double crit. Seizing Lubeck is a somber moment, as Sigurd sends his son away with Oifi and Shanana. You might think returning Sigurd home to get danced could help save a turn over what you see here, but the rampart below Lubeck prevents Sigurd moving significantly further forward, so we don't need to. Seizing Lubeck does bring some familiar faces to the field. Quan and Etlin lead a squadron of green lance knights. Quan only has the Gaibolg and Etlin only has her Iron Sword, and my guess is the game internally dumps their inventories in their convoy, which would explain why Leaf's inventory is organized in order of item ID. They are on the far side of the desert though, and they're being chased by Thracian Wyvern riders carrying rider spades. Yes, it is time to see the Aid massacre play out on the map. Fionnuala is a thinly defended castle, spawning a couple of priests with sleep, a mage, and a boss who carries a siege tome. We rigged Sigurd's resistance up so that he could defuse the sleep staves used by those 2 priests. We do want to boost Sigurd a few squares, so we warp Sylvia to Lubeck to dance for him. On this turn, I do a cute little formation to ensure Claude and Elaine get a jealousy turn, while the other couple still get adjacents despite Sylvia being away. Ernest has a turn to pick off the boss with her crit javelin. Seizing Lubeck also spawns in a number of meteor mages throughout the desert. Down south, we see the start of the Aid massacre, with some of the backlines getting picked off. We will take this turn to transfer Wart from Lubeck over to Tilta. Beowulf does his arena run. He ends up just shy of level 30, so we will want to get him one more kill afterwards. He buys the return ring for later and gets Wart to Lubeck, from where he can engage one of the Thracian wyverns later in the map. Azel buys a broken sword for one final contribution from our Anima Mage lag. Arden and Alec finish their arenas as well. On this turn, the rest of the Lancer Knights get carved up. We see the tragic end to Edlin's life, and while Quan does survive, the result of this fight ultimately doesn't matter. Sigurd runs up to seize Fionnuala, and this has the side effect of removing Quan, Ethlin, and any Lance Knights who are still alive from the map. Travant leaves the Thracian army, thankfully, while the rest of them will now start flying up to Lubeck. They will manage to reach Lubeck in time, so we will turn them into weapon kills on the Steel Sword. Raptor and the rest of the Frege army take the field as well, though their AI has them not move until a unit reaches their plateau. Erinus returns Sigurd immediately so he can get danced, and I should have had her buy a return ring to send herself home here. Sylvia finishes her arena run now. She will use the shield ring to manipulate her defense stat for miracle setups. I'll put a timestamp for the end of her run in the description. Have Lewin buy the Night Ring as a flex? This is definitely a waste of money. Lewin will return Ernest and then use Kanto to sell the Night Ring and return stuff. The one justification for doing this is that Lewin was a little short on EXP, so I needed him to get the staff use in. But it probably would have been easier to get him to use Warp a few extra times during the dead time in Chapter 4. The reason why Lewin is warped at all is because we need a unit who can kill a holy weapon user from 2 range, and for City Lewin is a great candidate because he isn't trying to marry somebody else, and he also is not going to be busy helping another couple. Sigurd and Midir finish their arena runs now as well. Sigurd also needs to finish his inheritance setup at this point since he will not have access to a castle after this turn. We repair exactly 2 uses on the Turfing in order to benefit from the weapon's resistance boost to defuse the meteor mages with 0 damage AI. Turfing grants Miracle. Unfortunately, this is the only mileage we will get out of Turfing in this run. Lewin also needs to finish his inheritance setup on this turn, though I ended up only having him pass Elwyn to his son. Sigurd will leave the magic ring in supply, since he can't carry everything at once, and that is the one item that Seliph can afford to wait for the second castle in Chapter 6 to access. Now that Ernest is back home, she and Ira can cover Claude and Edane's jealousy needs. If we had ensured that they had perfect jealousy, they would have ended up falling in love on turn 10, but that ends up being too late to save turns with the rescue staff in this chapter since it doesn't allow rescue boosting past flips. Holland is sent to Lubeck where he will take on most of the Thracian army. Tilda and Sylvia are now free to be jealousy bots, and they will split their time between the other 2 jealousy couples to ensure they get married in time. Unfortunately, due to how the jealousy lists work out, we can't have them both earning jealousy turns at the same time. With the Legring, Sigurd moves through 3 desert tiles a turn, which is also how far Lewin moves in a turn. Lewin had to be warped with Sigurd on turn 7 in order to reach his destination on time. After idling for several turns in siege range, Azel is killed. What a senseless death. Back home, Telta sends units to the home castle to manage their inventories as needed. Lex married Ira, and he immediately fills her wallet. He will then enter the home castle to finally do his arena run. Beowulf gets in range of one of the Thracian wyverns. This kill gets him to level 30, and with the return ring he can evacuate out of there. He will then pass the steel sword to Holland to handle the remaining Thracians. Sigurd breaks out of the desert at last. Something to note about this chapter is it does not give us an end of chapter gold bonus like all the previous chapters did for the castles that we held at the end of the map. Lex starts his arena run, timestamp of the end in the description. way the love points worked out, Claude and Elaine didn't need any more jealousy turns, so I sent Ira and Erinus back home to streamline actions. Holland needs to proc either Luna or a crit in order to one-round the Lackey Wyverns, and needs a double Luna or a double crit in order to kill the boss. Holland ends up halfway between level 29 and 30, so he probably would be an easy way to get an extra level over my run with better planning. On turn 13, Sigurd gets onto the plateau to aggro Raptor's army, and Lewin moves one square down to be in range of Raptor. This one square is the reason why we wanted to warp Lewin on turn 7. Claude married Edain, and so he will take this chance to transfer all his money to Edain for inheritance planning. The Claude Edain talk will not appear until the turn after they marry, which is why they needed to marry a turn before the final turn of the chapter. Midir gets warped to Lubeck to grab a village, since the passive growth is enough for him to marry Bridget by the start of the next turn. Sigurd equips the Brave Sword to kill a couple of enemies, but really he just needs to survive, and in fact, he's using one range to ensure Raptor won't be able to attack him. Instead, Lewin will face Raptor on this enemy phase, and we actually want him to not kill him, because Claude and Edain's conversation will disappear if Raptor dies. Lewin faces 0 hit from several enemies in the Frege army, which means he doesn't earn as much EXP from this job as you'd expect. He doesn't cleanly one-drop, but he has decent adept and critical rates to kill the one sniper who attacks him before Raptor. Raptor ends up getting a double Pavise to survive Lewin's wrath. The Veltomer army turns neutral, but we're about ready to clear things up. Midir fills his wallet and he marries Bridget from across the map. We make sure to get Sylvia and Dew home using staves to ensure that Dew can give gold to both of the Youngby sisters, and Lachesis transfers her gold over to Dew. Sal's death was to allow Claude to use the Valkyrie staff for his final level up. After Sylvia refreshes everyone in the home castle, Edain will step outside for Claude to give her the rescue before Lewin kills Raptor, which causes the entire Frege army to vanish, clearing Sigurd's way. Jamke goes on a long raid here, because not only does he want to clear his final fight for the last level up of Generation 1, he also has to set us up for Generation 2. In Chapter 6, much like Prologue, we will not have access to the arena, which means we will not be able to freely manipulate the RNG. We can, however, choose what seed we will go into the chapter with. I found a seed which would give a good first couple of turns in Chapter 6. I'll have a timestamp for the end of Jamke's arena run in description. We finished setting up everyone's inventory before having Sigurd talk to Ida to complete chapter 5 in 14 turns. I'll have an assessment of the level ups earned and possible improvements to Generation 1 in the description.
you.